Hello everyone! I'm back in my Sokovia toy box today to finish building the section of the city that Ultron ripped out of the earth. We added most of the buildings last time, but we still need to build the old church and add in all of the little details. To help me with that, I've got Black Widow with me, and we're standing at the place where we're going to build the entrance to the church. Right now, we are looking down the street where Ultron approaches the church to attack the Avengers, as seen in this screenshot from the movie that I showed you last time. You can see part of the church wall in the foreground on the right. Here's what the entrance looks like. It's a weird double arch shape, and we don't have anything like this in the toy box, so I'm going to be using a single arch instead. Also, I want you to notice the angled walls to the left and right of the archway. Here's a wider shot of the entrance. Notice there are crumbling arches on the left and right of the main entrance. It looks like these might have been windows, but I'm going to set these up as doors in my recreation of the church, which will help open up the interior and make it easier for the AI enemies to get inside and join the battle. Notice also there's a second level above the entrance with additional archways. And this second level looks like maybe it has a smaller footprint than the main floor. Oh, and I just noticed the buildings in the background on the right. Those look a lot like apartment buildings, don't they? I think I put cafe buildings in there in my toy box, but I could probably build those using the white stone city buildings with a pirate roof. I'll have to decide if I want to do that or not. Anyway, back to that second level. When we look at this interior shot, we can see that the second level is all open inside. There is no floor up there at all, and it looks like this chamber is surrounded by open archways. And this shot looks at the same interior from another direction, and again you can see the archways appear to go all the way around the room. This shot would also seem to indicate that there may be no ceiling on this building. However, we get a brief glimpse of the top of the building in this shot. The building is capped by a dome, so there's definitely a ceiling, but part of the roof looks damaged on the right, and I'm guessing that's the area we saw in the previous shot that's open to the sky. So that's what we're going to build, and because we don't have any existing buildings in the toy box that look like that, we're going to have to build it from scratch using basic blocks. But before we do that, I am really curious about those apartment buildings. So we're going to make a few little changes here before we do the church. I want to take out those. And this is the building I was thinking maybe might work well for those apartment buildings. So we'll bring these over. And I want to line this up with the front of that and the building behind. So we'll put those in. And I was thinking the pirate roof would be the closest match we have to the top of that. And that's a little bit wider than the building, so it'll have to have a bit of an overhang. And that actually looks really good. I like that. I think I'm going to keep that. So I'm making a few changes here on the fly, but that's okay. There's nothing to say a toy box, once it's built, has to stay the way it is. I'm going to make another change here too, because I noticed again in the screenshots there that the church is actually sitting on dirt, or at least really fine powdered rubble. So we're going to change this block here. Change the style on that to use the Buried Treasures theme. And I'm going to apply that. And then the church would be sitting, let's see. I'm looking at this and something is not right. These buildings here should be over further than they are. So yeah. Let me pull up my screen grab here because I think we have an issue. Hang on just a second. Fortunately, I kept all of those screen grabs from last time. Yeah, okay. So this building here should have been lined up with the back edge of this building over here. All right. So which means all of these buildings here have to slide back in order to make room. It's good to catch these things before we get too much further with the build exercise. I was thinking this area looked a little bit too small for the church to be sitting in here, but couldn't figure out why that was. And now I know. Alright, so this would have been sitting here. It's going to sit back here, like that. Which means this slides back. And you'll notice the terrain pieces underneath where I'm dropping these. So the terrain seam here runs right along the front of those buildings. So that tells you how far to push these back. And we'll slide our roof pieces over and we'll be good to go. And by the way, I already played around a little bit with this dirt texture for the pirate sand. And I really like the way it looks. It's a vast improvement over what I had originally. So we are definitely keeping this change. And when we're all done by the end of this video, you're going to see just how good that is. But I'm going to take and delete this block. And we are going to slide this one over. And then use the next one smaller. And we need to rotate that, by the way. And you'll see that in just a second when we set the texture on this. We're again using Dusty Crophopper's Runway, and I'm going to set the theme on that. You can see the pavers are running the same direction now. And now by making that change, we can change the texture on this to use buried treasures as well. And now we're going to have a dirt lot for our church to sit on. I'm also going to change this block to use buried treasures as well. And I like the way that looks. And already that's looking a lot more like the street that you see in the movie, which is all dirt. Okay, now back to our regularly scheduled build. So we're going to go up to the blocks drawer and we're going to begin with the sidewalk. So we're going to come over to these little small floor pieces and start with that. We're going to begin on the corner of this building here. Just spinning the camera around to give you a good view. And for the style on this, we're going to use Concrete 2. I'll set that to be the theme. And then we're going to build just a sidewalk here that comes over to this building and goes around this one. And I'm not going to put all of the sidewalks in here live for you like this. I'm going to do the rest of them offline a little bit later, but this one's kind of important because this is going to tell us where we need to put the church. So we're coming along the back side of this building over here right now. And I believe, let me get back to my original screenshot here where I was looking at this. I believe we come right there. That looks correct to me. All right. Oops, sorry, one more. I'm looking at the third set of windows over here. So if you go from the right, 1, 2, 3, the last sidewalk piece is right across from there. Now you can see it's starting to look like that street a little bit in the movie. But we're going to add some more sidewalk pieces later. Right now, let's start on the church. And so continuing left in the blocks drawer, we're looking for this arch block. This is going to sit right on top of that last sidewalk piece that we put in, just like that. All right. And for the church, the closest texture I found that matches this is the dungeon texture. And so I'm going to set that to be my theme now. And we're going to build the whole church using that texture. I think that works best. And we're going to use the wedge block for the angle there in front of this. That has to go 3 high. And then we'll pick up this wedge, or this arch, and drop it down. We're going to put another one in here, just like you see there. Okay, so just like that. And then we're going to mirror on the other side of the arch what we have on this side. And another arch. Alright, so there is the front of the church building, and that looks pretty good. Pretty close to what we have in the movie. So I think that'll work nicely. Alright. Now coming around this side of the building, we'll work our way around the perimeter. We're going to put 3 of these arches here like this. And then we're going to build the same thing we've got on the other side, just to make sure everything lines up the way it needs to line up. So like that. This is going to sit right in the middle like that. And then once again, we'll grab these blocks here. Flip them around and come over here and fill this in. If we keep the sides of the building opposite each other, symmetrical, then I think this will be the easiest way to build this. Which means we need now 3 of these along this side, like that. So there's the first floor of the church. Okay, now for the roof on this, for the next level, again, it was pretty much all open from what you saw, but since it's going to sit a little bit inward, it's going to be a smaller level sitting up here on top of this. We're going to put a little bit of a roof line around this. So we're going to put 3 of these here like this, and we'll do the same thing on the other side, like that. Okay, and then over on this side, we can put 2 in here like so, 2 in here like so. And that leaves it open in the middle. And it's a little smaller opening than I would like. I could use the smaller floor pieces here and just go 1 or 2 wide and leave that more open, but that takes up more memory, so we're just going to do it this way and save memory. Then we'll grab our archway and bring this up to the second level. And we're going to set this, trying to get to my screen grab here. We're going to start over here, and we're going to try to center the right edge of the arch over the middle of the arch below it. So like that. And then we're going to back this all the way up to the opening. So just the way you see it there. And we're going to put 2 of those across. And then that lines up this arch so it's centered over the main entrance below. So all of this works together to make this nice and symmetrical. So you don't have a lot of leeway here to build something that's too different. That leaves a little bit of a lip here along the edge of this, but I think that's okay. So yeah, I don't think I would recommend trying to make this floor section smaller because that just won't work. Alright, so now let's come back down to the floor section. We'll pick that up and put it down. We'll come up here to the top and we're going to place this like you see there. Now we have to use the smaller floor pieces because we just don't have any other choice. And again, we're going to leave this open in the middle. And then we will use this tall vaulted platform and we're going to center that right over top of that opening. Just like you see there. Yeah, that worked out pretty good. And then for the dome on top, we've got a full dome that can sit right up there like that. And it's not as big as I would like, unfortunately. But it could work. I just thought of something else, another idea. It just hit me. There's a dome in the Aladdin buildings. I didn't remember this until just now. So you could use that if you want. That fits the opening a little bit better. The texture on it, though, doesn't really match the rest of the structure, so it's up to you if you want to use that or not. I think I'm going to stick with the dome that I had before and just do it that way. Okay, so there is our church. And with the dirt floor now below it, this to me looks a lot closer to what we had in the movie. I like that much, much better. Okay, at this point all of the buildings are done and we've added in pretty much everything building-wise that we need. We just need to add in all of the little details, and that's going to take some time. So I'm going to do that offline. You don't need to watch me place all of these things because that'll be pretty boring to watch. So I'm going to do that offline, and then I'll return and show you the final result. Okay, I'm back, and I'm done adding all of the little details. So let me take you on a quick tour, and I'll show you which pieces I've used and where I've placed them. And feel free to pause this video along the way so you can see where to find these pieces in the Toy Box editor and how I've positioned them. So I moved the start pad temporarily over here just to get it out of the way. This is not its final resting place, but I had to get it out of the area over here where it was. This is going to get moved to the shield helicarrier before we're done, but let's start with the sidewalk sections, and you'll notice I've run them. This one we had run all the way around down to the church. Okay, so I've also run some sidewalk around most of this building, like you see there. I've also added sidewalk over here to the park and around the corner and along down the front of this building over here. And if I had the memory, I might have taken the sidewalk down this way to the end of the street here, but I'm just trying to save memory. It's not really that necessary. I did run the sidewalk over here, though, and down along the front of these buildings. Okay? And I had this over here stuck next to this. I did have to move this, so just want to make sure you're aware. I can't remember exactly how this was placed last time, but you need 2 blocks off the corner of that building, like you see there. That's where this has to sit. So I did end up having to move those a little bit further and reposition those again. But you can see that apartment building back there. I just like the way that looks. That matches the movie so much better. And I like having that there. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the sidewalk. Now around the dirt area, I added these pieces here, and this is the wide rock terrain blend. I put 2 of them here. Again, they are styled with the Pirates sand theme there, so it matches this block. I also put 2 of them along here, or 3 of them rather, 1, 2, and 3, and rather than use the memory for the smaller, narrower block, I just stuck a piece of debris rubble on top of that. I'll come back to that in a minute. And I also ran that around starting from here. And again, I stuck this little thing over to hide that gap in the blend. But this goes all the way down to the corner. I did use this little corner piece, which you see here, the outer corner rock terrain blend. That runs down along the side like that and under the church till we get to this point. And I really like the way that looks. It looks like rubble. So when you're standing down here on the ground, that just really helps reinforce the rubble theme, and I like that. And then we added a lot of these debris pieces, and you'll find these in Building Sets Group 2. They're these different rubble piles that you see here. All right, and I'm going to give you kind of a little tour of the area, and let's just kind of start over here near the entrance, near the bridge. It's kind of our starting area here. So you'll notice I placed these, and you don't have to place these exactly where I placed them. If you'd like to use different rock piles, you can do that. Different debris piles. I wouldn't fill this area up completely because the AI characters need to be able to move around, so don't go too nuts with the debris here. This one has the wider rubble pile flipped around back to back. So that's what you see there. And you want to overlap the sidewalk some in places because it's rubble. It shouldn't look too neat. I've got this corner piece I stuck here. Then I stuck a couple of these smaller rubble piles along the side of that. And up against this building here. Small rubble pile here. You're going to see this one used a lot, and I rotated it around. We stuck the broken pipe over here because that just looks really cool. Seeing some pipes with running water. This little phone booth was in the screenshot of this area from the movie, and you find this again in Building Sets Group 2 there. It's the telephone booth. So I like that. Some more rubble piles again. That's the corner piece. This is the longer piece up against the building. The corner piece is here as well, with a little rubble piece here sitting on top of the the thing. So I can't select it, but I've got a couple of rubble piles here. Again, these are the large rubble pile, and I rotated them. Put them on either side of the door. Notice I'm leaving the flow into the archways open. Don't block those, otherwise the enemy AI will get stuck. And these rubble piles did not exist in the original toy box that I did the playthrough on, just so you're aware. I stuck those in here because I was reminded when I looked at the screenshot earlier that those are there. Okay, a few little minor rubble piles here. And just going down the street. I stuck a rubble pile in the middle of this building, as well as a few of them in the middle of this area. That's the large rubble pile. Also, I put down 3 large floor pieces here using the concrete 2 texture that I'm using for the sidewalk. And I put those down to cover up the sand because it looked a little bit odd having sand in there and then the stone from Dusty Cropper's runway there, so that helps cover that up. And by the time we put the smoke in there, you won't notice the color difference here too much. Alright, continuing down this way, got another little rubble pile there. On the opposite side of the street, we got a long rubble pile. Again, this one's covering up that gap underneath. Along this street, we've got a little rubble pile there and some up against those buildings. Little one in the middle of the street there. Some rubble on this side of the street. And notice how I'm kind of keeping it out of the street, so it's out of the flow here for the most part, so enemies can get through here. So I really like that you can use these to give the idea of the rubble without completely filling up this area and blocking the enemy AI. Another rubble pile here on the corner of that to hide the fact that the sidewalk ends there. Alright, and then out here, I put another one of these plant clusters out here. We're going to style that a little bit later. And then more debris there. Oops, and around this corner over here. Some debris along that building. Along this one, a little bit of rubble there. This is notice these are sitting on top of the sidewalk there. I put a rubble pile here along the new apartment buildings and a smaller one on this side. And then I added some rubble piles around the corner of that building there. So makes sense then a little more to have this alley down here and not have it be empty. In the middle of this street, you can see where we have some of these little rubble piles placed. And a little one here around the corner. I didn't bother to put any back here because the player doesn't spend a lot of time back there. Same over here. Okay, in the park, I added 3 of these trees. They're a little bit more realistic type of tree. It's the orange maple tree. And if you want variety and you have the toy box memory for it because you're on a PS4 or an Xbox, you can use any of these more realistic trees. But to keep the memory short, I only use 3 and they're the exact same tree, just rotated a little bit. So that adds some interest in the park that we need. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Now, since we have these rubble piles in place, now we can style these. And once again, this is going to use the World War Hulk style. And I think the quickest way to get there is this way. Yeah. So the Hulk Smash Building Ruins, I'm going to theme all. I have not used many plant clusters. I've got 6 here and 1 over near the building in the first area we built. And I just really like the way that looks. It just adds another variety of building style here that looks like it's just been completely decimated. So I like the look of that. And theming all means that we also themed this one to look that way. So if you remember in the screenshot last time, there was kind of a little entrance here that protruded from the building. So you might think or consider that this is the ruins of that. But as I mentioned last time, there are many more details you could add, like additional sidewalks, rubble, street lights, cars, and so on. And maybe if you're on a system with more memory than my Wii U, you may want to do that. Just don't fill it up so full that the enemies have no room to move around. But I think this is a sufficient level of detail to establish the setting. So with that, the floating city is done. The last thing we need to build is the shield helicarrier, and I'll show you how to do that next time. Before you go, leave a comment and let me know what you think of the completed city, and hit the like button if you enjoyed my video today. You can also subscribe to my channel if you haven't done that already by clicking my photo in the lower right corner of this video. That's all for me today. See you next time.